You need to give me permission to record. I can't record from my end.
All right, recording here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Live transcription. I'll enable it. Good on you, Kevin. You asked for transcription. We'll get that for you. All right. So what are we doing here? How large is it? Yeah, don't hide it. Bring it back to me. All right. This is 2 terabytes, right? So what happens if something goes wrong with this? What do you do? You buy this, something goes wrong. What are you going to do? Warranty. Where do you take it? No, the store won't take it back. You got to take it to a distributor, which may be down in Cyber J or out near Claim Valley. You just don't know where distributors are these days. You may have bought it in Sunway Mall or Mid Valley, right? Distributor. But what if you don't want to take it to a distributor? What do you do? It stopped working. What do you do?
Mark it on the table.
Email to the distributor.
What? You can email them. What else can you do? Come on. You pull it apart. What happens if you pull it apart? What happens? Do you lose the warranty? Yes or no?
Yes.
Why? Why do you lose the warranty?
Yeah, you took out the parts.
Because they do not want you to pull it apart. Am I right? Yes or no?
Yes.
So shall we pull one apart?
Yes.
Yes.
No. Yes. Yes.
No. It's empty.
All right. Yeah, I don't take them back. You know, I've had some of these fail on me. I don't take them back. I pull them apart. I want to know what's wrong. All right. So here's one here. I've pulled apart. Okay. All right. This is 2 terabyte, right? Am I right? That's same one, right? Yes or no? Same. Yes or no? Yes or no? Same. All right. It's the same, right? Seagate, right? It says Seagate. Have a look, everyone. Seagate. Okay. So I pulled this apart one day just to see what was going on. I was frustrated. I don't want to waste time with warranties. But what happens when you pull it apart? All right. Have you ever done that to your hard drive?
No.
Yes or no?
No.
Let me do it again. All right.
Wow.
Do you think it'll work after that? Yes or no?
No.
All right. Okay. Yeah. And then suddenly I look at it. It's supposed to be a Seagate. It's Seagate. Is that right? Yeah, Seagate, right? You see that? Yes. All right. But what does it say on the inside? Loud voice. Come on. What does it say on the inside? Oh, why so slow here? Come on, wake up tonight. Samsung. All right. Inside a Seagate drive. Yes or no? Huh? I think after this course, you'll never buy anything. You'll never believe anything that's sold in stores. All right. So I want you to think about this is what I need you to think about. Why would Seagate get Samsung to put something inside? Then Seagate says, oh, why are Seagate hard drives? Because they're the lightest 2 terabyte hard drive around. You should buy one. And they're the best in the world. But inside is Samsung. So, why does Seagate not tell you there's Samsung on the inside?
Intellectual property. They're protecting the IP.
All right, it doesn't look good for their brand, right? All right, but why does Seagate do that anyway? Come on. Hello? Oh, come on, ski daddies. Wake up. Why does Seagate put Samsung on the inside of its hard drive?
Because they can produce the standard that Samsung can.
Because Samsung can make it cheaper than what Seagate can. All right, just cost. All right. So why does Seagate say that the warranty is void if you open it up? Why do they say that?
Because it tarnishes their reputation.
They don't want you to see that Samsung on the inside. All right. That's one thing. Of course, then you cannot prove that it's their problem. Once you open it up, you could have played with it, right? You know, you could be the crazy professor like me that played with it. All right. So they do that because there's people like me around that open things up when things go boom. Okay. All right. Just want to warm you up, everyone, for next week when that's not to do with tonight. All right. Just warming you up for next week because we move on to how do multinationals manage their supply chains. All right. In very different ways than how SMEs and startups manage. And what you're going to see tonight is what happened here. Is this working? Suyan will fix this. Thank you. What we're going to see tonight is that I'm going to show you how startups innovate to manage their contracts, because you need to have a contract, but
The contract won't save you.
one person is awake tonight.
Will not see.
And online, yeah, the contract will not save you. So what are startups doing? If the contract will not save them, what are they doing? Okay. And so that's the big theme tonight. Remember our free circle control framework. If we look in our free circle control framework, we will see the following. And I've already shown you the black box. If you want to see the black box, then it's going to look like this. It's warming up. All right. You've seen a video of the black box, my trip to the black box factory. You have access to that. Am I right? Yes or no? All right, you've got the link and you saw that online. What I want to show you about this factory, here we go. All right, what I want to show you is that the black box factory really does exist. Okay, all right. Remember, this course is not about textbook. We talk about things that you see, all right? And things that go, what? Yes, exactly. All right. Yeah, I really should have a power board because it's a fire, right? All right. All right. Black box. This is Shenzhen on the other side of the border from Hong Kong. And so the black box factory is about 15 kilometers from the border. And my friend Mike Bellamy owns and runs that business. He's been running for the last, I don't know, 15 years more. And why is it a business? Because buyers want to protect their IP. Because buyers know that they must have a contract, but the contract will not save them. All right. So a lot of buyers will go to Mike and say, we've got this product, we want to send it to the US market. We do not want our suppliers to know which market we are selling to. And so therefore, hence the black box, meaning that you don't know what goes on the inside of the factory. Wow. All right. So this is around Shenzhen, and many of you have. How many of you have been to Shenzhen? Anyone? Okay. Do watch the video. It's quite interesting if you haven't been to Shenzhen. But let me just fast forward it, and we'll go and meet Mike. And we've got into a taxi. We drove about 10 kilometers. And basically, this is where the office of the black box is, but not where the black box is. All right, they keep the office separate from the black box. Mike explains that in the video, so do look at that. And you all know this guy here, yes or no? You've all seen him in the videos, right? And the big fish behind, right? How old are you? Big fish, the big white fish. Bayou. Is that right?
Yes.
White. Bayou. You've got to help me here. All right, there it is. There's the fish. Now we're going to go to the black box. And so we need to jump in a car and drive another 5, 6, 7, 8 kilometers. And then we get to see the black box factory. And then once we go into the factory, let's see if we can find it. I'll just stop it there. You just start. Once we get into the, I just want to see, there's the outside of the factory there. And just like a normal industrial building, it doesn't have the big words black box factory, okay? And basically the suppliers would deliver their goods to here and then they don't know what happens after that. And it could be that suppliers deliver the whole product there and all they do is put on a shipping label. So then the suppliers do not know which country the product is going to. So a black box factory is not just assembly. A black box factory can be just putting a packing label onto a box. That's all. Okay. So anything that stops the supplier from knowing where the goods are going to. All right. And so Mike's showing us around the factory, and there's, you know, there's things for the workers and there's different aspects. You can watch the video. But these black box factories are real, and a lot of small SMEs contract with Mike to actually solve this problem. That is, you must have a contract, but yeah, the contract won't save you. Wow. All right. And so, as you know, this course I've taken you through from the macro, then we've done the 3-circle control framework. At the top of the 3-circle control framework, we looked at the structure of the relationship. Then we asked, what do we do at the top? We ask lots of questions, right? That's the big funnel where we're trying to talk to many, many suppliers. Maybe we throw out a lot of requests for quotations. Remember, all of you did a request for quotations. So you might do 20 of them, 30 of them. So you've done that now. So you know what that circle is about. The next part of the circle is doing the contract, legal documentation. You can hire lawyers to do that for as little as $100 or $200 to get a basic contract done, so, for example, in China, and probably the equivalent for in Vietnam or India or another country. All right, you don't have to pay exorbitant fees to get a lawyer to just do a basic contract. Okay, all right. Then finally, last week we looked at measurement and verification, where all of you got to look at a real product audit report and a real factory audit report. What did you learn last week? If this circle here is the contract won't save you, here, what will not save you? The product audit or the factory audit?
Sorry, factory audit.
You must have should have a product audit, but it won't save you. Okay. What would likely save you, what we learned last week with the data, is having a factory audit. Why? Because our data showed that the variation in the factory audit is a very strong predictor of the outcome of a product audit when we match factory audits and product audits with the same factory. But what did we learn from the totality of the data I've got is that most buyers order which kind of audit? Which one? Most buyers order a product audit, not a factory audit. Isn't that interesting? Out of 12,500 product audits, my friend at Southeast Asia has only had buyers ask him to do less than 600 factory audits. That's 1 for every 25 product audits. Okay, so very interesting. All right, and factory audit, how much? $250 US, $300 for 1 person day. Okay, all right. And you saw from your request for quotation, how much were you paying? How much were you going to pay to get 50 tablets shipped to Malaysia? How much were you going to pay? How much was it going to cost you? Come on, how much?
200 pieces for 5,000.
And then how much would you have to pay? How much money?
5,000 Malaysian ringgit.
250 each times 50. How much is that? 250 US dollars times 50. Come on. Class, what are you doing tonight? How much?
It's 12,500.
12,500 US dollars. How many of you have got 12,500 US dollars to spare? Anyone? Yes or no?
No, we are students, broke life.
Oh, I like that. I like the honesty here. All right. So we're only, if you're going to lay down 12,500, and I'm saying get a factory audit done, it's only going to cost you $300. You with me here? All right. So even if you pay $300, that's nothing compared to how much you're outlaying. All right. So choose the right supplier. Ah, wow. All right. So that was the big thing that we learned over here, the measurement and the verification and auditing. Ah, wow. This gets more exciting. Is there another three-circle control framework for the rest of this semester? No, there is not. You can breathe easy. All right. But it gets better. It gets better. All right. I want to remind you of this slide from the second circle 2 weeks ago. Remember, we talked about you need to register FTM, FTR. Remember, I had brain fog. I didn't know which one was which. FTM was first to market, that's USA. First to register, China, India. All right, so we got past that. You can have all of these things. You can have your trademarks, you can have your patents, but if you do not have a NNN agreement, then it's possible that the factory can bypass, have a workaround, can take a shortcut around other documentation that you have registered in your country and in China if you're sourcing from China. So a NNN agreement stops the factory from no use, no disclosure, or non-circumvention. And no use is very critical because what happens is the factory might share your information with their friend, and then the friend goes and does the bad deed with your information. And then the factory says, oh, sorry, but we didn't do anything. All right, we gave it to our friend. The friend did the bad thing. And so the NNN agreement stops. It's something that you make clear with the factory that you don't want the factory to do that, even to share with their friend, even a family member, which they think, oh, their family member could be 1,000 people in their network. You're with me here, depending on which culture you're talking to. So, before we start tonight, I just want to warn you and make you sensitive to the fact that when you have the contract in place, it won't save you. You need to be very careful about how to protect your IP, because tonight we're going to look at how do startups protect their IP. Startups don't have money, they don't have lawyers, they don't have the resources. How do they do it? That's what we're going to learn tonight. But startups have a lot more problems, not just protecting their IP, they have other problems too. And you're going to find out a lot about that because the two groups presenting tonight are going to go through the case studies of various startups. So let's just be very clear what we're doing tonight. Number one, there's our three circles. Okay, and you know that this is all about questions. You know this is about contract. You know this is all about the audit. And the contract, well, forget about that. But so what do you do instead, right? And I just made sure that one thing to do is have a NNN agreement. No, don't do this, don't do that, don't do this. You with me? Non-disclosure, non-compete, and non-circumvention. Yes, you can have all that. That's great. But when you become a startup, you are small. 很小. You are very small. Okay? You're very small. So you don't have the resources, you don't have the lawyers to protect, to actually save yourself, because the contract won't save you. So just remind you what we're focusing on tonight. Okay? Let's be very, very clear. All right. The other thing we're going to talk about tonight, so that was our first one. And then the other thing we're going to do tonight, and probably we've got the startups, we're going to look at that, and our presenters tonight are going to talk about startups and their challenges. But the other thing I'm going to talk about is my interviews with consultants. What do we learn from consultants who actually go into supply chains to turn them around, who go into supply chains to help improve the supply chain efficiency for multinationals, for SMEs? What are the consultants doing? That's a good question you want to ask. What are the consultants doing? All right. So if we have an idea of what they're doing, maybe we get some idea about how we can improve a supply chain. You with me here? Right. Remember, next week and the week after, we're going to be asking what are the multinationals doing? You with me here? All right. We're up to week 7, and I've tried not to tell you about what multinationals are doing, except for maybe this thing. I just gave you a hint tonight, all right? More about that next week. By the way, just for got our iPhone 4s here. Yeah, what do we do with the iPhone 4? Huh? Yeah. No good. These are copies, right? Why are they copies?
Okay,
they look identical. Huh?
You can get a new iPhone 4 now.
You can. Look, how do you know they're copies? Because this one has an aerial. All right. Have you ever seen an iPhone 4 with an aerial before? Yes. All right. Okay. So, anything can be made in these developing countries. I'm not picking on China. All right. Vietnam, same challenges you're going to have in other countries, maybe parts of India too. All right. So just be aware when you're managing a supply chain, anything can happen. So you need to have your wits about you. All right. So what are the consultants doing what can we learn from the consultants to make a supply chain better? And I think this is a really exciting part, and I want to take you through. And that is when I talk to Big Ideas Consulting, basically the person that set up Big Ideas Consulting, he is now the global supply chain director for GAP. How many of you know GAP? GAP, all right? All right, so he's in charge of coordinating their global supply chain, all right? And so I had a chance to interview him, ask him, so when you go into the supply chain, what are you doing? What are you doing to improve a supply chain? And his answer was more focusing on the strategy and the vision, but also listen hard and acting fast. But the big thing that he was thinking of was more about the idea of cutting down the number of suppliers that companies have, because generally companies traditionally have grown their supply base, and it gets to a stage where they've got too many suppliers. Got too many. So consolidate the supply base. When I talk to my friend from Weave, who is an ex-McKinsey guy, he tells me the following. He says that the challenges are onshoring and reshoring, vertical integration, and also other interesting parts about lower margins, merger and acquisitions, and capacity. But he was talking about lots of things that get to the heart of how do we improve the operational sustainability of suppliers. And I asked him, what are the big things that we should be focusing on? Okay, don't tell me too many things. Don't give me a list of 10 things. Just give me 3 things. And he said, that's easy. That's easy. It's all about total cost of ownership. So you think about the total cost of everything. All right, and that is when you buy something, then you've got to think about the costs of shipping with that. You've got to think about the cost of disposing that item after it's been used. It's the total cost of owning something. And the other thing that is a big trend is design to cost. What do we mean by design to cost? Well, because this Samsung is on the inside, all right, we don't care if we have a bit of film here, right? Because the customer never sees that. You with me? But we do care what the backing plate looks like. We do care what the front looks like. Why? Because the customer sees that. That's what we mean by design to cost. Wow. All right. So, and the other big trend was production planning. So if you're making all socks during the year, and which, by the way, which is the most popular color of sock in the world today?
White. Black.
Blue, black, navy gray.
Wait a minute, your first response was so sure. I didn't say anything, and suddenly you all went, oh, must be another one then.
No, I stand by that.
It's black. So therefore, would you care to make black just before the Christmas rush? Or should you be making black all year round?
All year
Should be all year round, all right? And should save capacity for when there's a greater variety of colours ordered, maybe around Christmas time. And so, now we're thinking about strategic planning of what we get the suppliers to make at different times in the year. Because now you need to know the market side of your product. So this is what we're learning from the consultants and talking about how to manage the supply chain, the three big trends. And my friend at Weave, ex-McKinsey, very interesting guy. And then Weave is part of a consulting arm of Tau Apparel, which they make 1/6 of the white shirts that are sold in America. Tau Apparel, a huge apparel company based in Hong Kong. But they've got factories in China, in Vietnam, and other countries. So amazing what we can learn when we talk to consultants like these. All right. So let's just have a look at what my friend from Southeast Asia. Remember the audit reports we looked at last week? Online, do you remember the audit reports we looked at last week? Yes or no?
Yeah.
Are you with us online? Hello? Hello?
Yes. Yeah.
Anyone home?
Yes.
Okay, all right, good. All right, the audit reports you saw last week, right? Now, those audit reports come from my friend Renaud Andrian from Southeast Asia. They have another company called China Manufacturing Consultants. And I asked them, when you go into companies, what do you do? What are three things that any supplier should do to help improve their costs, to improve their sustainability? And he said, that's very simple. Cut inventory, cut office staff, and improve the processes. Three things. Actually, we wouldn't talk about cutting inventory now with all of the blockages in transportation around the world and supply chains. Now, inventory is kind of like a goal to have, you want to have inventory now. But, that's what a pandemic has sort of switched around these priorities in the supply chain world. Wow. All right. And so these are the big things that China Manufacturing Consultants, arm of Southeast Asia, told us. So can we bring these things together? Yes, we can. And this is something that I put together based on my dozens of interviews with consultants, with leaders in the field and managing supply chains. And that is, it's like an onion. There's 3 layers of the onion. And the first layer you are already familiar with. And this is something like the whole process of actually, you do your RFQ, you do everything that procurement does, but you're trying to develop a relationship. And you're just trying to do the basic things and making sure the supplier measures the right things, so therefore you comply with the requirements of the country that you are shipping to. For example, HDMI, for example, FDA, FCC, all these requirements to go into the US, to go into Australia, to go to Europe. There's the minimum, right? So in some ways, that's kind of like part of the 3-circle control framework, the outer. But let's peel back that outer and go to the next level. And this is interesting, where we start thinking about how to improve the efficiency of the supplier. And this is where we're talking about cut inventory, cut admin, and try to process improvement. And you know that. How many of you remember the video where I gave you an example of process improvement? What was that video? Hello? Remember the one where the car audio factory, and you put the SD card into the front, but it doesn't line up with the PCB board at the back. And so we went to see where the person was doing the screwing, right? Yes or no? You remember now, visual, very good, huh? And then we went around the corner to the other guy and he's doing his soldering. Remember that? All right. And all of you saw, oh, they're not sucking the solder away. That's not very nice, is it? All right. But not only that, what else was the problem with the soldering? Come on, what was it? Speak up.
Dust free.
Sorry?
It's not dust free.
Yeah, but what else was I trying to highlight with the soldering activity?
No cradles. No cradles to hold it.
Yeah, there was no cradle. He's trying to solder and the thing's just rocking there, right? Just on its own gravity. Yeah. All right. So that's what we mean by process improvement. You with me? Process improvement can be very simple. You don't need to be a rocket scientist to improve processes in a factory. Okay. All right. And you all see that now because you start to see these factory videos. Are you getting expert at process improvement? Now you know what to look for. Am I right? Yes or no?
Yes.
Compared to 6 weeks ago, put your hand up if you're a little bit more aware of what to look for in a factory. Online, can I see you? Yes or no? Are you more aware compared to 6 weeks ago?
Yes.
Josie, what about you?
Yes, doctor. Definitely.
Dayu, what about you? Hello?
Yes, doctor. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Dayu's drowning. Okay. All right. Okay. All right. But then we go to change management, and that's a harder thing. That's long term. All right. Because ultimately, if we want sustainable change, we need to go to the red part. We need to deal with the owner mindset. We need to deal with the perceived opportunities, cost of investments, or skills and developing leadership. Okay. That's the hard part. That's hard to do. That's the inside of the onion. It's always easy to peel the outside onion, right? Okay, so let me just stop for a moment. What I just want to share with you and where we're up to. Number one, I briefly reminded you of the three-circle control framework and the fact that we're going to talk about startups because they're small. What do they do? But what I just covered in the last 10 minutes was just to say, okay, what are consultants doing? You know, if the consultants like from McKinsey, BSG, and if they're going into these supply chains and they've been paid bucket loads of money to do consulting, what are they telling the supply chain operators to do? And basically, it's probably 1 or 2 or 3 of these levels. Okay, that's what they're doing. And if they're not touching the red, then they're getting money for nothing. All right, because the company's not going to change and they'll need a consultant to come back a year later. But if you can get and change the red, then you don't need a consultant again. You with me? Because you change the trajectory of the factory. That's the hard part. The red is the hard part. Okay. Enough of that. Now, the rise, what we're going to do is 10 to 8. So let's just have a break for 5 minutes. And when we come back, we're going to talk about the rise of the hardware startup. And in that part, we're going to talk about, all right, startups, they don't have the resources. So how do they protect their IP? Okay, how do they do it? Okay, so have a break for 6 minutes. Is that okay? Yes or no? All right. Okay. Thank you. I tell you what. Does anyone want to try this? It hurt. I tell you what, it hurt.
life expectancy, but I just want to know mortality, which is why I said level of
Curious, did very well.
And I shall-
So close.
Yeah, but I mean, he wasn't his fault.
Oh, after he lost, was it? I didn't see that.
No pending actually.
He was saying that how his girlfriend actually helped him.
Ask for the I want film.
Yeah.
He doesn't care about this time. This question. The next one.
That was quarter final, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, but have you seen, no, the Russian and Korean, sorry, that was the quarter finals of the US Open, that Korean.
No,
I think it wasn't the fourth round.
Was the Russian?
But that Russian that played against
The US guy.
no, it was the Russian guy that beat the Koreans. Russian, it was Russian.
Oh, no, because the Russian guy was playing Tiafo. Tiafo is the US
Well,
guy.
the guy that beat the Koreans, his serving,
Oh, this one. He was.
his serving was just so perfect. I watched the highlights.
Yeah, I.
Oh, yeah. You were right. His serving was just like Patrick Rafter. If you've seen it, the style.
Yeah, this guy.
And after that,
Let's have a meeting on Tuesday. I mean, Tuesday. All the answers. And then from Tuesday, we start working on.
Yeah.
No, you watch it. No, do you watch it? You watch
Last night.
What are you talking about? United Man, you say, then I know what. Cristiano. Cristiano came from Man U, you know. He born from Man U. Born means doesn't like people. I mean, he rising. Should always
90 minutes on one. On one. Too much.
international business trade.
How do we? Yeah.
We're gonna pass.
External together. Yeah. Strength. No, before the competition. No, it's 7 to 9.
And then you should know.
What is it?
How are we going?
Yeah, we gotta discuss it. Yeah, and then later on.
You presented last week, right?
No, that was next.
You were the first speaker.
We are the organic.
Yeah, we have three.
Oh, thank you.
Sorry.
Yeah, last week. They only put video, but if you put video, you time is gone. And now they're getting money. You know, explaining the buttons more. Of course, you can explain them more. But I just feel like and the other group did 90 minutes. And this is without how it is without it was much and just put it there. Just keep presentation by so discuss no one present. So today we'll do
Yeah, I don't yesterday was very bad. I left
I don't know. No, you can so you
Hello, everyone. Back again. Can you all see me? All clear? Okay, what I'm going to do now is I just want to impress upon you, and you saw from my video, my presentation to Global Sources, where I actually talked about the rise of the hardware startup. But I want to impress upon you and basically give a summary of what is going on with that. Because we all know that VC capital has driven the rise of startups throughout the region in the last decade. Great. All right. And that is always going to be a source of startup growth, the fact that there's VC capital around. Right. But what we're going to learn tonight is that startups don't have all the resources. So what workarounds do they do to overcome the fact that you must have a contract, but the
contract will not save you.
Yeah, contract will not save you. Exactly. And so we know from some of these startups, and we can get these listings a few years old now, but there's stuff like if we go down the line, Royal Corporation, and then there's people I've interviewed in these organizations, like this sales lady for Royal Corporation they were making these goggles that you put on and have a VR experience. But what was interesting about the Royal Corporation was not about the product, but the owner, because the owner has that mindset of being like Steve Jobs and wanting to make the best product in the world. And the owner had a vision that in the future that you would have any cup like this will have a wraparound film and it'll be like an LED panel with any advertising on it. Because he believes that in the future that industry where you got LCDs, they'll be so cheap and it'll be so bendable. You know that now. Why? Because now you've got phones where the LED is just bending, right? You don't believe it until you see it. So why can't it wrap around? It's easy, all right? Is it expensive? Well, in the future, not so. But this is the owner's mindset. And so what I do tell buyers is that not every company or factory you go to has an owner like the Royal Corporation, and they must understand what some of these owners are like. Now, I'm going to take you through 6 startups of examples of what startups have done to protect their IP, because protecting your IP is a very difficult thing. Remember, the court will not save you in a lot of countries of the world, and it's usually that's the domain of the large multinational, not the SME and not the startup. So if we look at our first one, and this is a Diffoderm, Taiwanese company, how did they protect their IP? Well, their joint venture partner in China wanted them to move all of their factory operations back to the mainland China, and they realized, no, once it goes back there, we don't have any protection. They ended up actually moving their factory base to Thailand instead. So therefore, physically locating where the factory was what Diffoderm did. So what did Goatee Tech did? Goatee Tech, and my friend at Goatee Tech, Hong Kong friend, he actually owns the factory across the border in Shenzhen. And it's actually like a black box. So he's making this product that's a leather pouch with a power bank inside. All right. And he wants to protect it from suppliers knowing where is he selling it and what's the design. How can he do that? Well, he owns a factory. And so therefore, when the suppliers, some of them bring the power bank in, others bring in leather, and he puts it all together, the suppliers don't know. So it's basically like black box concept. And that's how Goatee Tech protected their IP. And that's the product there. All right. So how did Grom protect their IP? Now, this is your turn. I have a question to you. How did Grom protect their IP? Oh, basically, let me help you. Grom make digital representations of your foot when you go to a podiatrist, because you want to have an inner sole to go in your shoe. And so when you put your foot in the shoe, wow, the shoe fits you like a glove. So Grom make that inner sole. And how do they make that? They get a digital impression of your foot. Okay, 3D. And then, but they send that digital copy to their factories in China, right? And then it's made using 3D printing technology and everything. How does Grom protect its IP? Customization, yeah, because there's no one feet the same, no one foot the same around the world. So therefore, it's easy to protect, right? So interesting that in that way. All right, next, that's iDummy. How many of you have heard of iDummy? That was a design that came out of Polytechnic University, and they protected their IP by actually doing something like what my friend from Goatee Tech did. That is, they joint ventured with a swimsuit manufacturer in China. And so they protect their IP because that joint venture, the swimsuit manufacturer, had an equity share in the whole operation. And so through the incentives of the equity share worked for them. But these mannequins that are making, we're talking about $12,000 a piece or more to make. And it's very, what you do, you can just program the size of the mannequin with your iPhone. Make it larger, smaller to fit whatever dress or clothes or whatever you want to display in the store. And that's what they came up with. All right. So how did they protect their IP? Through equity ownership with the factory in China. All right. So remember, these are all practical ways of protecting your IP. And maybe one of the groups presenting tonight is presenting on what Julian Lee did with Ambi Climate. And basically, he and the group presenting tonight, you can talk more about what he did. So I'm not going to steal your thunder, but great guy. And like, if any of you want to contact these startups, I'm sure I can help get you in touch with them if you want to use that as part of your project. Okay, make your project more interesting than just a web-based project. Now, like I said, I'm not going to tell you what Ambi Climate did. I'll leave that to the group presenting on that. But the last one was Rotor X. Now, this one's very interesting because they were making drones, but really drones for racing. So how did Rotor X protect their IP?
Separating the manufacturing processes.
Not separating.
They told the supplier they will let the community know.
Yeah, what did they do?
Shaming the supplier by letting the supplier know that they will let the community know like what the supplier did. And basically give a black mark to the supplier.
Exactly. So Rotorex, they have there was a factory where they make the engines in the drone, but then they outsourced the propeller making, which is a special design, with another manufacturer, and that manufacturer started copying those propellers, and they ended up on another drone. And so what happened back in the community, because very small, the drone racing community around the world, the community found that another drone was using these same propellers, and they actually came back and told Rotorex. And then they said, well, we're not going to buy this other drone if they keep on getting these propellers from the factory that's copied from Rotorex. So that's community shaming. Like that is crazy. Like, and when I was talking to the owner of Rotorex, I've got the interview, I've got the actual recording of the interview. This is exactly what he was saying. It's just amazing. You would not believe it if you didn't hear it from the owner themselves. So these are different ways that startups are trying to, these are called workarounds, right? Because the contract will not save you if you don't have the resources and you don't have that legal might, which multinationals that you'll find out next week and the week after, they can do whatever they want with the law and protecting themselves, etc. But this is where you learn a lot when you learn a lot being a startup. And that's what we're going to learn tonight, because we've got two groups presenting tonight. And those two groups are going to present on the following. And these are some of the interviews that I did with one of the largest startup incubators in the region, Brink, out of Hong Kong and Shenzhen. I spoke to the general manager of Levata. This guy here is running a factory on the other side of Hong Kong and Zhongshan, and they actually make the superconductors that go in the MRI imaging machines made by GE and Siemens. So it's very interesting that this Finnish company is making superconductors in Shenzhen, China. You would think, wow, how do you protect that? Well, interesting interview with that guy there. So these are different interviews that I have done, and I tried to put that into a framework in terms of specific capabilities of parties and a startup strategy execution. So I want you to think, when you're doing just getting onto the assessment and your major project, just a detour here, I don't want you to, please try not to think about your project in terms of words that you put on paper. You've got to think in terms of your project in terms of columns and rows and tables and in diagrams. What does it mean? What's a diagram look like that visualizes the findings of your study, of your project? So I did lots of interviews, and then there's the diagram of my interviews, if you know what I mean. Or I did lots of interviews, and you saw that 3-layered onion. It's sort of, I try to visualize what does it mean? What's your takeaway? All right. So just challenge yourself. The more you can visualize your project, the stronger the impact will be, especially when you're presenting to businesses, when you're presenting in a job interview. Got your attention? Yeah, job interview. Yeah, all right. And all of you, I need to go through these processes now and again. But the present, you think there's all flies here. Now, we've got 2 presenters tonight, 2 groups. They're online. They are presenting, they're going to be presenting on the experience of 5 startups each. The experience of how those 5 startups managed their supplies. They are suppliers. They are hardware startups. So these are not startups managing their software development team, like in Silicon Valley. No, these are startups trying to manage a factory or suppliers that, these are startups that have raised millions of dollars on Kickstarter in Indiegogo. And these are 50 of them. I interviewed these 50 startups. There's 50 here, 50 columns. And each tick represents a particular challenge that every one of them had. By the way, the MIB student that helped me to put this together, right? He was invited by one of my colleagues in France to talk to Accenture about getting a job with them. Put your hand up if you'd like to have an invitation like that. Yeah, is that all right? So learn how to do something like this. Class, are you hearing me? All right, this class is not just about getting a credit with Monash, it's about getting a job, okay? All right, finding ways to visualize what you are learning, okay? And then you can impress. You can impress, and then you get doors that open when you impress. All right. All right. Now, here are the startups that some, okay. Oh, it's just behind me, apologies. Oh, okay. Yeah, so here are some of the startups that our groups are going to present tonight. And what you're going to find out is how they all were successful in raising money, but they weren't all successful in delivering their product. All right, as you know, Indiegogo and Kickstarter, it's a great thing because you automatically know if the market is interested in your product or not, right? Yeah, but then you need to deliver. All right, so yeah, it's great marketing and it's great knowing if there's a market, but then the pressure is on to deliver. You've got a deadline, you've got promises to keep. So you'll find out that in the presentations tonight. So let me just stop there, and we're going to have about 5 or 6 minute break, and we're going to get our, well, before that, are there any questions or comments? All right, let me ask all of you a question, and you can write this down or speak up. And that is, what is the number one thing that you have got from the last 15 minutes of what these startups are doing?
Protecting their IP.
Protecting their
IP.
Yeah. Yep. Anyone else?
So in a sense, all these startups have very, very innovative ways to protect themselves in terms of intellectual property, finding ways to make sure that their products don't get copied or reintroduced into the market as something else.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Winning the hearts of clients. How to win the hearts of clients.
How to win the heart of the
Clients.
suppliers.
Get into the owner's mindset.
Oh, getting back to what that three onion,
Yes,
that onion
three
thing.
onion.
Okay. Anyone else from Dida? Hello. Yeah. Anyone alive on that table?
Well, they keep to keep up in the competition. They keep renovating their products.
Okay. Anyone
But
else?
it's fine.
Any other comments? Questions? Online? Any? Hello, online. Sharifa, any comments?
I think mine was like find a product to sell like socks, like the black socks. Find something so like non-seasonal things to sell. So yeah, that's what I got.
Yeah. Oh, okay. All right. I'm glad everyone got something different. That's good. I've still got to figure out a way how to put these iPhone 4s back together, but I think they're well and truly broken now. They did work when I bought them. All right. They did work. All right. What we're going to do is have a break for about 5 or 6 minutes. And so then I'll confer with the groups that are presenting tonight so they get ready. When they come back, the groups will be presenting on a selection of these startups. They're doing 5 each. So I'd like your attention just to understand about the challenges that they faced and what workarounds did they do? All right. Like I gave you examples of 7, but the ones that the groups are presenting are totally different, because the ones that I talked about, they really didn't raise money on Kickstarter or Indiegogo. The ones that the groups are presenting on, they all raised lots of money. Right. So therefore they face deadlines, they face lots of challenges. Okay. So let's have a break for about 6 minutes, 7 minutes. And then we come back and we get the 2 groups presenting. What do you think? Okay. Hello.
Some stuff regarding the group.
Oh, I've got to talk to the groups. I've just got to get those groups set up.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Are you presenting?
No.
Oh,
I just want to ask some stuff regarding
the final project?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, it is good.
They'll be good. I'll just get the groups online ready.
Yeah, what what is that?
Shamini, are you in touch with our groups? Hello? Hello? Who's presenting first? Shamini, could you check?
I can't hear you. What is it?
Hi, Doctor is our group.
Who's presenting first?
Frog.
It's the
The
frog
frog.
group, I think. Yeah, frog.
Frog group?
Yes.
Okay. Are you able to share your screen?
Yep.
Or do I need to give you access?
Are you all able to share your screen? Do you all need access? I think they should be able to share.
Yeah, they should be able to.
Yeah, because I
Now-
can as well.
Yeah. Okay, that's good. Okay, so who's going first? Frog?
Yep. Yeah.
Frog.
Us.
Okay.
Just target it. Is your elbow switching?
Okay. Can we just go over the names of who's presenting first? Shamini, who's names of who's presenting? Ah. It's see. Oh, thank you.
Our son's group, are you okay?
Yep, yep, we are ready.
Well,
Yeah, you
Okay.
can share
Ready?
your screen.
Okay.
Why?
He asked you who is that? That looks so familiar.
I actually got lost in the
I'll get that
the last semester.
This is my last one.
and one bin.
You still have one more?
I still have two more.
Excellent.
I'm doing part-time.
Okay, we'll do them.
I'm working for
I'll come and sit with you anyway.
So where are you?
Uh,
Like
a bit, but the hours was
when you're this. Yeah. But you know, you found something that you like. So that's good. Yeah, it's nice to be here.
why
Just
well, to be honest, I've been to quite a few classes. You do a pretty good job, so don't worry about it.
I know you were not there.
No, I wasn't. I am, that's why.
And ABS.
So this semester in IB and one under.
Yeah, so
Or am I?
I can.
Oh,
thanks for coming.
Yeah,
I'm
that's
at
right.
8 a.m.
Watch
tomorrow.
one stay to watch one.
Oh, okay.
I wish I could, but I've got full day classes
Yeah, I
from 8 a.m. until
Thanks
9
for,
a.m.
thanks for coming.
Thanks for having us. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. It's good.
Very energetic.
Yeah, I know. I wish I had your energy. So lively. Yeah.
Appreciate that.
Tomorrow is the day I die.
Bye-bye. Take care.
All the best.
Okay, I think we'd better start. Okay, so I think we want to start. So we remember we're just a little bit more aware of time. Remember last week our groups had a little bit more. They went a bit over time and we lost a bit of traction because they went a little bit too long. So we're just a bit more aware of that tonight and also going forward for next week and the week after. All right. So please, we've got our first group to present. And could you just put your hand up for the presenters? We have Jing Chen. Hao Sun, you're first. Is that right? Hao Sun and Jing Chen, you're presenting.
Yes, we are here.
And Fang Yang, you're presenting.
No, it's Wenbin.
Wenbin and we've got Yanzi and Hanan. Actually, we've got two groups in front of us now. Is that correct? All right. So can the frog group put their hand up first? Okay, with 5 of you, is there 5 or 4?
No.
Four.
Four.
4. I said
Yes,
5
three.
hands. All right, Wenbin, Sunny, Ta Liang, and Jing Chen. All right. Please begin when you're ready. Do you want to share your screen now?
Yeah.
Share
Already
ready.
shared. Yeah, it's already shared.
Okay, please go ahead.
Yeah.
Can everyone give a hand to Frog Group presentation, please? Oh, come on, give them a hand. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Please go ahead.
Okay. Hi guys, here is Sun Hao, Chen Jing, Yunzhe, Wenbin will take the presentation to you all. Our group are responsible to the week 7 IoT Startup Part 1. So before we start, let me introduce those 5 companies here. The first one is Block, which was crowdfunded on Kickstarter. It is a smartwatch powered by the vision of Android that has a strap made up of 4 interchangeable parts, each container different technology to perform a specific function, such as GPS, extra batteries, and other functions. The next one is UGM. It is a company set up in Taiwan that focus on the intelligence assistance exercise. UGM places manufacturing, assembling, firmware upgrade, and software development in Taiwan. UGM is used to relieve muscles pain by massaging painful deep muscles with electricity. The third one is MB Climate. We can guess that product from the name is a smart home device that upgrades the intelligence of your existing air conditioner. Your home interact with it. The device was artificial intelligence to analyze data from your home and surrounding and learning all about your habits and preferences. Nanoleaf is the fourth company. It focuses on green technologies that specialize in developing smart light hardware and software. Our modular lighting system is made of triangular LED modules. In any combination, you can put it together to your liking. Well, the last company is IVO Technology Company, a private company registered in Hong Kong. Indiegogo has invested in Moodbox, a technology product developed by crowdfunding video. The concept of the Moodbox is the first smart speaker that enhances any mood with perfect music and light. So that is the introduce of the 5 companies. Now back to the Chen Jing to do the next part.
So it's my part to introduce how those 5 companies to build their business better in protecting intellectual property, which also called IP, and product design. The rest of part will be led by Yunzhe. Well, as we know that the products of these 5 companies are all about technology, so how to protect their IP from being copied is extremely important. One of the points rapidly emphasized by Daniel in the videos is separating factory for physical protection of IP is an effective and important method. Company Block was through the production of hardware factory set up in Shenzhen, while the production of software factory set up in Taiwan. And in Taiwan's mastery of core technology of high talent knowledge team has applied for a patent for their IP so as to achieve the protection of IP. Company IVO was also the same, software technology production by their own, hardware by the corporation of the factory production in Nanshan district, Shenzhen. They were based on the support of the HK University and R&D. When they cooperated with the invested factory, the software firmware included was uploaded in the cloud, so no one can steal it. Also, IVO and the cooperating factory and partners a relationship of both prosperity and loss. Customer might produce goods in-house as much as possible is important for protecting IP as well. AMBI, Nanoleaf, Eugene all have their own app for customer to use, designed it through personalized customer design. allowed users to use their app to control the product. Companies, they are in hands of the core technology, and thus they also control their IP internally. About in terms of production design, all 5 companies have in full production line to optimize the design communication between designer, pattern maker, and production teams. Block's smartwatch is also designed based on market demands like GPS, heart rate modules, and so on. And a SIM card will be added in the future, as this was the most demanded feature in 2014. And UGM got customer feedback on the earlier design from all the customers who had tried it to get good feedback. And at the same time of design, they let fitness trainer try it and give evaluation back. And AMBI's product first in Hong Kong trial product produced, then improved at any time. The product will be produced in Shenzhen using soft tooling production of no more than 5,000 units to prevent production problem as well as to facilitate later adjustment at the time. Finally, they will look for the most suitable and trustworthy factory with hard tooling production products. Nanoleaf injected thoughtful design and technological intelligence into its products so as to meet the market demand for smart homes and focus on bringing customers a personalized experience. IVO got investment and support from a factory, which is very important for them because only investors who are optimistic about their product's concept, function, prospects, they can work together for a win-win situation. And some of the also got feedback from customers such as about how to better search for matching music, and the market is really interested in master speaker. Like this feedback are very helpful for their subsequent products updates and upgrades. Well, these 2 sections are about IP protection and product design. Then the following parts will give to Yunzhe. Thank you.
Hey guys, I will and compare these 5 companies by factory work and also the new market entrant. In working with the factory, the UGM, AMBI, and also the Nanoleaf have all chosen to work closely with the design engineers. The UGM set up all the production and the assembly links in Taiwan to ensure that they can be more closer to the product design engineers. Now we see the CEO of AMBI and also the Nanoleaf are both design engineers. The UGM outperformed all 4 other companies in terms of customer development and also the promotion of the products, which was used by the professionals such as the fitness trainers and recommended to the gym member. Blocks, UGM, and also IVO are 3 customers that pay more attention to the detail and factory production in order to guarantee the quality of their products. Just like Chenji mentioned before, as the company core team is based in Taiwan, the block has chosen to manufacture in Shenzhen and assemble them in Taipei factory, which allows them for a better quality control of the product details. As UGM is a very sensitive device, the UGM Technology Corp has set up manufacturing and assemble process in Taiwan. This allows them to visit the factory and monitor whether the factory is meeting their situation. The situation of IVO is different from the first 2 brands because IVO and the Invest Factory Incorporation are produced separately. The research results, including the software, are controlled by the IVO itself, and the factory will better ensure the detail and the quality of the products for their own profit. All right, as the new market entrant, the 5 startups, the next page, the 5 startups were all in their early stage of the and all needed significant investment to support the development of their products. As a result, all 5 companies had raised more than their initial goals through crowdfunding on the Indiegogo and the Kickstarters. The blocks opted to move away from their traditional distribution model and instead choose to use Instagram or other social media to promote and sell their products. In effect, its model is ideal for this kind of production as it reduces the cost associated with offline sales, such as the renting and train staff. The U-Gym, on the other hand, is using gym and other similar channels to get more potential customers to try out their products, getting a lot of feedback and increase the brand awareness. AMBI Climber is available for rental in Hong Kong and Singapore, and has a distributors in Malaysia and also Thailand. In addition, this product can also be purchased through the brand of our website. The IPO's business strategy is to develop the Hong Kong market firstly and deploy the market strategy to mainland China and USA and the Europe. IPO is not only targeting the offline market, but it's also raising brand awareness through the online advertising, such as through the partnership with the Kiki Music. So all part is the performance of these 5 startups in the developing process. Then Wenbin will go through in details about these companies faced by the challenge and the solutions.
Next page. Thank you, Yingzhe. I'm Su Wenbin, and I'm going to talk about the change that stand-up will face. After reviewing the video and analyzing these 5 companies, we've come up with 4 of the biggest change for stand-up. The first change is fund. Most stand-up don't have enough money. For example, you can only raise $65,000. IPO only raised $63,000. This is actually far from enough for company. Lack of capital will limit the growth of the company, and the cost manufacturing delay. Also don't have enough money for media publicity. Stand-up need to crowdfund across multiple platforms. By the way, Brooks raised $3 million. Wow, so much, right? The second change is expand. This is not just about opening more stores, but a broad meaning, including publicity channel, marketing means. Stand-up need more exposure for the world to see them, so that more customers will buy their products. For example, customers who have used U-Gym products have given the very good feedback, but the problem is that many customers have never used their products or even heard of them. This is a tragedy. The third change is good cooperative partner. As a stand-up, you can't do everything. Many stand-up have to deal with manufacturing delay. Having a good partner can help solve this problem. With a good partner, stand-up can focus on their area. Partner can help with other things, such as making handwear, manufacturing, promotion products, and selling. But finding the right partner is not easy. Stand-up need to keep trying to find the right partner. The fourth challenge is protect IP. IP is the core of stand-up. IP can be protected by physical protection. Separate part of manufacturing from part of assembly. Black box factories can also be introduced. Stand-up can also protect IP by making the factory an equity partner. In addition, keeping software and firmware separate from the factory is another way to protect IP. There are the 4 main challenges for stand-up. Thank you. That's all our group presentation. Before the Q&A, I have a question. There are 5 companies, right? I want you guys to guess which one company went bankrupt. Which one? Just guess.
Did you hear that? Did you hear that, everyone?
Yes.
So which one went bankrupt? Is that the question?
Yes. Which one?
Yes.
Okay.
The answer is Brooks. In 2016, because of the cooperative partner lift, the Brooks modular smartwatch project was shut down. The capital chain is broken. Both went bankrupt. Blacks raised $3 million, but bankrupt. Sad. Now let's go to the Q&A. Thank you.
I've got a question. Which of you've looked at 5 startups, so which one raised the most money?
Actually, is the blogs, but that is funny. The finally the blogs went the bankrupt.
And which of these startups did not meet their deadlines promised through Indiegogo or Kickstarter?
The deadline, we found that the IPO, but they said the factory delayed, but they will figure out maybe delayed to January and February. I'm guess, yeah, because the original deadline is August, but due to the manufacturing delay, then they have to delay to the next year.
Okay. Any questions from the class? Hello? No. One last question. What was the biggest surprise that you found in reviewing the histories of these 5 startups?
Of course, the blogs bankrupt. The blogs raised the most money, but finally they bankrupt. This is the biggest surprise.
Yeah. What was the number one thing that caused them to go bankrupt? There are many factors, but what was the biggest thing, do you think?
I think it's because of the cooperative partner list. So the capital chain is broken.
Sorry, the cooperative partnership with downstream or the upstream supply chain partner?
I'm not sure. I think it's the equity partner. I think it's in the downstream. I'm not sure.
Okay, all right. We're pushing you pretty hard on this. All right, can you give Frog a round of applause? Great effort. And so let's pass on to our next group. And that is Jaguar, is that correct?
Jaguar, yes.
Yes, sir.
So Jaguar is the biggest cat in the jungle, is that right? Right. So with Jaguar, who do we have? We have Hamda, is that right?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
And Feng Yang?
Yes, Doctor.
Hao Nan?
Yes, sir.
And Tai Yang?
Yeah, I'm here. Yes, sir.
Okay, so tell us what we're doing. You
All
can begin when you're ready.
Okay.
Give them a hand.
A very good evening, everyone. We are covering part 2, the rise of the hardware startup.
And I'll make sure when you're speaking, speak loud and clear, please. Thank you.
Okay, sure. A very good evening, everyone. We are Team Jaguar. We have Hamdar, Feng Yang, and Hao Nan. And these are the 4 questions we'll be covering tonight. The rise of the hardware startup. Let me begin with what are the big trends in VC financing? VC referring to venture capital. And today probably is the best time for us to start a tech company, because with the technological advances, economic experiments, and societal connections, the growth of the ecosystem enable the founders to launch hardware company easier than ever. And since 2010, the VC investment in hardware startups grow tremendously, about 30x. And you can see from the graph here, they grow a lot, as much as the software companies, due to large part of a drop in hardware production costs. So brands like Beats, Jawbone, Fitbit, and GoPro camera are the great success examples. So there are three categories of private hardware investors. The first one is hardware-only VCs. Second one is hardware-friendly micro VCs and hardware-friendly traditional VCs. So hardware-only VCs, they are small funds who work with hardware companies. They are usually the first money in, and they can follow on, but they do not lead to the future investment rounds. And for micro VCs, they invest at the seed stage, but they are not focused on hardware exclusively. Their quantum is less than 100 million. They usually invest 50,000 to 500,000 to fill out the seed rounds. For the hardware-friendly traditional venture capital, they made up of VCs that are particularly active, and they really like consumer hardware companies. So you can see many of the hardware-only VCs exist primarily in the United States. Yeah, of course, you can see now China also getting more hardware VCs. So these are brands y'all can Google and then check out how much quantum they are willing to invest and what are their interests. So let me pass to Hao-Nan.
Okay, then is my part. My part is why it's important for startups to be innovative in IP product. First of which should know what's intellectual property. Intellectual property is IP, is the property rights of human beings in the intellectual labor achievements created by human beings in social practice, and is an important source of social loss. Innovation is the first driving force to lead development, and the protection of IP is the protection of innovation. Next page, Jimmy. Okay, so why is important to protect IP? As we know, the protection of IP is the protection of innovation. So let's talk back to the innovation. Innovation is the main driver for SMEs to achieve growth. Our innovation process involves two main steps. The first one is the research and the development stage, in which that the company obtains the technology, and the second is commercial stage, in which the product is placed on the market. In the innovation process, the legal protection of the knowledge that will eventually be implanted in the product of all mass is important. For this reason, IP protection is a strategic tool in a company's innovation process. Next page, thank you. And as we see in the screen, the average business income of employees in SMEs with IP is 68% higher than that of SMEs without any IP. So we can know protecting IP will bring more revenue to the company. First, it will bring protecting products. Take patents as an example. Patented products can first include imitation and copying by the competitors, and increase the market share of patented products in the relevant product market. The second is defense. For companies, on the one hand, they have to protect their products from the infringement, and on the other hand, they have to prevent their products from infringing the rights of others. The third is it can increase the intangible size of the enterprise. Enterprise size include not only visible and tangible size, but also invisible and intangible size. The value of intangible size is often much greater than the value of tangible size. Much such as a patent with high technical content and a reputed trademark, the market value of which is immeasurable. The first is IP is a proof of enterprise innovation ability. As we know, a simple way, lost the page. As we know, Jimmy, can you turn to the last page? Thank you. As we know, a simple way to understand a company's innovation capability is to know the amount of IP rights owned by the company. IP rights is a strong proof of a company's innovation ability, which can be used to gain customers' trust and build a company's brand. In addition, IP rights can bring many benefits to a company, such as licensing payments for others to use IP rights, applications for government programs, and the government funding support, and so on. Thank you. That's my part. And Hamda.
Okay, hi everyone, this is Hamda, and I will be talking about the ways to protect intellectual property. So the first way to protect intellectual property is to register IP rights, such as trademarks, patents, and copyrights. So these registrations give assurance that the other firm cannot clone, imitate, make, or sell your products. And apart from that, it also becomes easier to validate your ownership in legal disputes. Apart from this legal documentation, it's really important to physically protect your IP, and especially in developing countries where the rule of law is weak. So in order to physically protect your intellectual property and product, try to limit the exposure of your product by providing less information in trade shows and trade fairs. I'm talking about the pre-production phase here. So you RFQs with dummy products or prototypes, because then it would become difficult for others to craft your idea into a fully working product. And then apart from that, another way to physically protect your IP is through compartmentalization of production. So for this purpose, hire third party to assemble your products and try to separate activities such as split the research and development activities and allocate some core tasks to the headquarter and also some tasks to the company or group in China. And also try to do design and electronics in-house. Next slide, please. So always monitor your RP by visiting production facilities, warehouses, and tooling rooms. So if you see wear marks of toolings, this is an indication that the other somebody is selling your products to an unauthorized channels. So we try to be vigilant, and then own the tooling. Own the tools if the product is highly customized, because owning tools allow you to have control on who has the ability to make your product. So in case if any factory is producing extra copies of your product, then they won't be able to do too many of copies. And then opt for strong non-disclosure agreement, non-compete agreement. So non-disclosure agreement restricts any involved party from sharing information defined by the terms of the agreement. So it's important to get strong non-disclosure agreement, and the draft should be clear and concise. Next slide, please. So these are the examples of some companies who actually adopted different ways to protect their intellectual property. For example, BCX Labs did a prototype of their product to protect their IP in initial phases. Similarly, Ambi Lab, they invested heavily in soft tooling to protect their IP, and they started prototyping in Hong Kong in-house. Then they registered their IP rights, and then they ordered 500 units using cheaper tooling. Then other company, Gucci Tech, they had their own factory and they used it as a black box factory factory to assemble their products. So the component manufacturers doesn't know how the final products looks like. So these are some of the ways companies can protect their intellectual property rights. Now I will pass on to Frank Young, and he will discuss about the three-circle framework. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Hamda. Okay. What is the three circle control framework? The three circle control framework is a family-based system that portrays three diverse, overlapping and independent groups that reasons from the business ownership and family. However, the three circle entails a structured relationship, verification and measurements and legal documentation and due diligence. Please next page, Jimmy. Thank you. Okay, what is the structural relationship? The IoT startups case entails a structural relationship in the three circle framework, among which the hardware startups have their relationship with their suppliers, distributors, and customer. For example, Gillette Solution act in partnership to develop the IoT charging device and customer relationships facilitate feedback, like the need for more color, more cable breadth, and quick charging features. The firm sources different parts from various organizations to assemble its product and distribute them, including companies like Amazon and iCloud in its SCM. Creating a structural relationship with the supplier. What is measurements and verification? The measurements and verification of the hardware system are essential in monitoring the process and co-locating the design of the hardware. The design was laboratory tested and the product independent inspected to determine its feasibility and efficiency. For example, a sound brander product is utilized by diverse musicians in tracking their rhythm and beats. The selling process is tracked under the main selling platform that range from music and anthem to diverse nations that include Germany, China, Hong Kong, and the USA. The hardware working process is monitored to eliminate possible defaults and ensures and maintain the hardware by security firms. Last one, what is the legal documentation and due diligence? Legal documentation are non-label in hardware form in their enhanced actually partners, owner and its physical. For example, the sound brand organization has stakeholder offer the funding of the companies in hardware solution from investor help create partners and ownership to operate in areas they have that can be in divorced nations. Moreover, firms like July Solution, which is the German design in Hong Kong, that is used separating phones and tables during charging. The organization has legal documentation to operate in divorced nations, since it offering sustainability and ownership. Okay, thank you.
One question for your group is, what was the most surprising thing you found from the startups that you examined? Thailand, if you turn your microphone on. Yeah, please go ahead.
Can you give us some time?
Yeah, I'll give you 3 seconds. What was the either there was no surprise or there is a surprise. Did you have a surprise? Were you surprised? Anything?
Yeah,
Let me put it another way. Was there anything that you didn't know that you learned from looking at these startups?
I did wrong.
Yes or no? You already knew everything about them, or what did you learn new? What was something new?
For me, it was really exciting to see how they tried their level best to protect their intellectual properties. Even they use the social media to actually defame or community shaming. So this was something really new for me. That the factories and the owners and the suppliers, they can go to that extent to protect their IP. So that
which case?
The use of social media, RotorX.
Yeah, but no, but which case that you looked at? Did you look at RotorX, did you?
Yeah, RotorX.
Can you show me the 5 cases you looked at?
Oh, sure. Can you share the screens?
Your BCX, Ambi, GoToTech. Who else did you do? What were the other 2 that you looked at?
One was RotorX and the other was there was another company named Eugen. They actually moved to another, they moved their factory to another country to protect their intellectual property.
Okay, all right. We will thank you for your sharing on that. Great effort, guys. Jaguar, great effort. Okay. Don't worry, every one of you, you're going to be in the hot seat now. All right? Because all of you now need to tell me what your major project is going to be on. All right? Don't come up to me individually to say, oh, is this good? Is this bad? No, I want to need you come out the front and you write on the board, what are you doing? Okay, go now, everyone. It doesn't matter if you I'm not expecting that this is your final topic, but write down something you're thinking about. Until you write it down, you're not going to make progress. Okay? It's the biggest mistake that Okay, thank you, Hira. The biggest mistake that students make is they leave it until the last 3 weeks before the deadline. Oh, I need to write this project. Okay? Yeah, anywhere you like. There you go. Go. Yeah.
I wrote that.
Oh, you're quick. All right, good. All right. Where's your group members? You're online.
He is not here. I don't know where he's gonna be, so I guess it's a one-man show then.
Okay.
Yeah, we here.
Lung.
Young
Oh,
here.
we'll talk. Okay. So does Lung have any idea?
We had a call yesterday regarding this, so talk about it. But there are some things that I need to go through you to, in a sense, understand.
Well, let's share together. Let's share with the whole class, because I want my advice to you, to the whole class. Okay? All right.
What's this?
Okay, so Iguana's trying to think of something, and we've got regionalization of supply chains, motivation. What? Come on, guys.
Are we gonna write the topic and then the motivation?
Just write down what comes to mind. What are you thinking of? What are you thinking of in terms of what your major? 50% of your assessment is going to be on this topic, right? Okay, industry, good. Online, do you know what you have to do? Shamini, you may just want to help them with in the chat room. What we're doing now is we want all groups to, and I did go through this with some of you online in 5 o'clock to 6 o'clock tonight, but I just want to make sure that everyone starts to write down what they're thinking about. Okay? And if you're not sure about one, then write down a second idea. If you're not sure about the second idea, write down a third idea. Then I'll tell you which of those 3 ideas has the best potential. Okay? Remember, the other big point I want to make, especially those online, is you need to motivate. The motivation for your topic needs to be clear. So, for example, what if in 6 weeks' time, you have to present this topic to an industry conference? Not an academic conference, an industry conference. So what topic is going to be relevant for you? Okay, so we've got, is this camera working? Just check. How come we ran out of? Oh, see? If you can, Luigi. We're just starting up one of those cameras. Thank you. And this one.
Don't laugh like what we talked about Vietnam. Shit, look at that. We did that. So what do we do?
Human trafficking. As a
Thank you, Steve. We're just getting some of those cameras starting again. So we see, Shamini, is one of those cameras working for you? There's one of them, correct? Yep.
I can see the lab, I can see you, but I can't see the board.
Okay. There you go. There's one here. All right. Yeah, that's all right. Guys, my 20,000 amp thing is. That's right. Okay, we've got one here, so this is good. So that one's working okay. That one's okay. Okay, so what we're going to do is if you can take that, we'll go around, you film as we go from one to one. So then we'll stop the recording. Okay, and we start. Actually, it might be better to use my smartphone. Too heavy for you. I know, this is old generation, isn't it? There, use this one, then I can share it with the WhatsApp group very fast. Okay. Brand new, huh? Video. Okay, so you film us. You follow me as we go. All right, so let's, who wants to go first? Hello? They're still working out over there. All right, let's you want to go first? Okay, our first one. Which animal have we got? Giraffe. Actually, giraffe should go first. Why? Because they're the tallest. All right, long neck. Okay, so can you explain? Oh, please go ahead.
Regionalization of supply chain. This is one of the topics that we are looking at because even before COVID-19, there has been a shift of global supply chain to regional hubs.
Right.
And with COVID playing a very big role in changing the way that supply chains work, localization has moved to regionalization.
Okay.
So we're looking at the shift and trends that have set in the recent years because of the shift in supply chains towards a regionalization.
Okay, how's that different from my big study that I talked about in the second week this semester? Do you remember the sourcing shift out of China? Is it
the
sort
sourcing
of,
shift? Mine is a full chain. Like let's say MNC.
Yes.
Let's say if they have a localization, a local company, a local factory that manufactures towards the local market needs.
Okay.
But because of COVID, it kind of did change their model of working, and it will cost more, and they have supply chain constraints to move things from there. Initially, it was ideal for them to have local factories because to them it allows them to feed the end market better. But they're shifting not because of sourcing constraints or other changes in government, but more of issues regarding the supply and demand of logistics.
Okay, all right. Follow me. Let's go to the noisiest people in the corner. Yes. Okay, now it's your turn. Time to perform. Who's going to talk?
So industry 4.0. Yeah, the industry 4.0 and the AI topic. And we were thinking of doing a case study approach. And the company we wanted to analyze is Amazon because there are a lot of case studies available where we can actually pull out and summarize the data. Yeah. So yeah, the focus areas will be robotics and AI, and how Amazon has used the AI to predict trends. And then we wanted to do a comparison of Malaysian players such as Shopee and Lazada And in the case of Shopee and Lazada, they have emulated Amazon by having their own logistics services which are internalized. But when it comes to robotics or warehouse predictions, they don't have that at all. But in the case of sales recommendations, they have a very basic AI for that. And that's maybe an area that they can develop. So I think there's one more bullet we wanted to put was,
You need to talk about what they are doing, not what they are trying to develop.
sorry, you mean Shopee and Lazada?
You said, oh, that's one area that they can develop. We're not interested in what something they might be able to do in the future. We want to know what they're doing now. The present.
Right.
You cannot say, oh, that's something they may want to develop.
I see. No, because we were thinking at the last point would be if they wanted to do the robotics and
Sorry, are they doing it or not doing it?
So they are not.
All right, then don't talk about it. All right?
Right.
Talk about what they're doing.
They're using basic AI for their chatbots and product recommendation. That's the
Yeah, but how does that feed through to the supply chain control, supply chain planning and things like that? Okay? All right? Don't look at the marketing side of it. You need to look at the supply chain management side.
Yeah, so which is why when I was talking about robotics, which they don't do, if they wanted to do it.
No. We don't want to know if they wanted to. All we want to know is what are they doing. Okay?
Focus what Amazon is.
Perhaps maybe if you
if
you let me complete what I wanted to say. Right. So if they wanted to introduce it, so they would probably have to change how the products come to their warehouse.
Okay.
So now maybe they're using barcodes to scan products. So a change in the supply chain that they would need to do would be RFIDs so that the robots are able to identify the products. So that's where we wanted to come to at the end in the case of robotics. If you wanted to introduce robotics, yeah.
Very good. Okay, you got some idea about where it's going to end, so I like that.
Yeah.
Okay, that's good. Let's go and have a look at another one. All right, who's next? Quick. Hello. Okay, what are we doing?
First, our topic is sustainability and
Excuse me.
for social response. So our motivation is once we watch that presentation we had for the Zoom meeting about the human trafficking, and we shocked by the numbers of the men, women, children they face into the situation. So we really interesting with that, and so we choose apparel industry, and we found some brands like Nike, Adidas. They move from China to Vietnam. So we our main point is the human rights versus the money. So we're gonna use some cases and data to finish our report. Yeah.
Points.
Keep going. This is good. Keep going. Yep. Are you focusing on a particular country?
Yes,
Vietnam.
So
Okay.
one of the international forced labor expert, Matthew Friedman,
Okay.
from one of his session, we got the motivation from there, and then we looked through more.
All right.
Then we found out about the reports from Vietnam, and all the articles regarding it. They're like
Okay.
about the last report. It talked about 30,000 men and women being, forced
Okay,
into
and then
labor.
you're going to connect that with the
Yeah.
apparel industry.
That is correct.
So therefore, I expect you to have a table with the major apparel companies and some data that.
That is correct. Yes.
We're gonna use some case.
We're gonna with some case and data
table,
reports.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, very good. All right, next. One over here. Okay. Please go ahead.
So I'm representing my group. My roommates are not here.
That's right. Well done.
Yeah. So I'm alone here. I'm representing my group. So basically our topic is the impact of inefficient cold chain logistics on the supply chain and wastage of agricultural goods in Vietnam. So we'll be talking about cold chain logistics, focusing on the industry, which is the agriculture, and then the country will focusing in Vietnam. So basically, we want to know why the cold chain logistic in Vietnam is still inefficient. It's not mature yet because of the infrastructure, and then how this impacts the supply chain and a lot of food wastage. Especially Vietnam produce a lot of farm fresh goods,
Yep.
and then so we're going to talk about the full cycle, the process of the cold chain logistic.
Oh, very interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So how any feedbacks? Or what?
My feedback is, yeah, because you choose Vietnam, then there's a lot of scope for exploring how Vietnam can improve the infrastructure, especially cold chain. Yes, and Jacob did talk about that. You should interview Jacob for part of your assignment. Maybe he can, bring to your attention stuff that you're not going. You remember you met Jacob over online, right? Yeah. Just make an appointment and do an interview with him. He'll be happy to talk to you.
All right, sure.
All right. And he can maybe point you to stuff that make this even more.
Overall feasibility, is it?
No, no. The first thing I'm thinking of when talking about feasibility is this interesting? Is this interesting not to an academic like me, but to an industry audience? And yes, that's interesting to industry audience.
Thank you.
This one is to industry, yes. So yes. So then, who's most interested in this? Is it governments? Is it?
Still company perspective.
Yeah. So you just need to be very specific as to, who cares and why do they care? Okay, who cares and why do they care? And then that's good. Excellent. Okay.
Thank you.
Good. All right. Hello.
Yes.
Hello.
Yeah, hi.
Yes, sir.
So for us, for the measure project, because there's an option between research and field, we're planning to go on research. So our topic is going to be sourcing shift to Vietnam. So I know you've been questioning a couple of team, like what's the difference between this topic and the one that you already did, right? So we're thinking that we're gonna focus on the industry of E&E.
Yes.
So the country basically is we'll be looking at a couple of countries actually make a shift to Vietnam, or maybe in this case for now, we're just thinking about because US last time they used to produce in China, and
Yeah.
because of the trade war, they have been shifting to Vietnam. So definitely we will cover the topic on pros and cons for sourcing shift to Vietnam. And for that, for our research, we're planning to use like 5 kind of like similar company as our case study references. And we'll be looking at the challenges and opportunity in Vietnam. This means shifting the sourcing to Vietnam. So what's the challenges and opportunity, and looking at the threats. So for us, we identified that threats will probably be key resources because as mentioned during the lecture, the quality of raw materials, for example, cotton, they're not actually the cotton producer of China and US, and in India it's doing that. And definitely some legal stuff, which is contract and war. And because as mentioned in the class, you're saying that last time they used to think like which is the best value of the parts and things, but because of COVID situation, things have changed, and JIT inventory, you wanted to place your supplier to be as close as your manufacturing. So we'll be looking at this issue too. And conclusion basically will conclude of the learning that we have learned from our research, whether it's be negative, positive, or we being surprised.
All right. So my big point is, who cares? Who cares about this?
I mean, if I'm planning to go sourcing in Vietnam, I used to be in China, and I was thinking of whether I should go into Vietnam. I'll be interested.
So there's a lot of companies asking that question now. We know because of Jacob, because of my study, and so there's a focus on Vietnam, so that you need to make that very, very clear in the first half page of your study.
Okay.
Why are we focusing on it, and who cares about that? Right?
Yes.
So make it very, very clear. Then you can talk about that. I think, and then you focus on the E&E. So therefore, you need to dig deeper.
Okay.
right? If you're talking about E&E, so for example, we're talking about E&E, most E&E or the development you talk about are facilitated by government setting up technology parks or ecosystems, which are not necessarily set up for footwear and apparel. They're set up for electronics, they're set up for design, they're set up for startup Silicon Valley type stuff, right?
Yes.
And so therefore E&E has a kind of a different DNA that needs to be supported by government. So you can think about why, if you're going to look at E&E in Vietnam, why is it that they all went to Hanoi and not the Ho Chi Minh City?
Okay.
All right. Is it because they're only 12 hours south of Shenzhen, or is it because the Hanoi government has set up these parks? Yeah, so that's what I mean. If you're going to go deep, you need to start looking at that. In these 5 companies that have set up around Hanoi, what was their big attraction? How much did they invest? How much did the government support them? Did the government give them a tax-free holiday? What exactly attracted those 5 companies to invest? Okay, so very good. All right, next, let's go to our next one. And I hope you're still with us online. Are you still with us over there?
Industrial 4.0.
Where's our microphone? Oh, here's the microphone.
All right, so we're Team Iguana, and our topic is about cold chain logistics or warehouse management, warehousing management. We have not performed yet on either topic. So our industry will be for e-commerce and retails, cold chain retail in Malaysia.
All right, so this is Iguana, you look at warehouse management, cold chain.
Yeah, cold chain logistics.
Malaysia.
Yep, our country is Malaysia, our topic.
Okay.
Yep. And we're looking at challenges such as inventory inaccuracy, all the redundant processes, and increasing labor costs, where there's a lot of human error, creating a lot of quality issues when transporting the goods. Yeah, so our main objective is actually to make these industries able to support JIT. Yeah.
I think right at the start, you need to say, why do we care?
Yeah.
Okay. Why is this a problem?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, it is.
Yes.
Why? What's the evidence that this is a problem? I'd expect it is a problem.
Okay.
Okay. And you know, stuff like, if I'm a truck driver, I want to save pet fuel, then when the owner or the consignee or the consigner is not looking, I turn the refrigeration off to save energy. And 2 kilometers before the warehouse, I turn it back on, but they don't know. But in fact, we've actually lost the cold chain because there was no monitoring of the truck during that time. See, I think you need to have a vivid, real case study of what is the real problem. What is the real problem that you are looking at? Okay? Is the real problem the fact that there's not full visibility or monitoring of the cold chain?
It's the traceability.
Traceability, then explain what that is, and that's what needs to be very clear right up front. Okay?
Okay. All right.
Okay?
Yep.
Good start. Very good. Okay, who's next? Where are we? We're back to online, is that right? Shamini, we're online again. Hello? You can stop that. That's excellent. Shamini, everyone online, are you still with us? Hello? What if we lost them?
Hello. Yes.
Hello? Anyone home? Shamini, can you hear us?
Yes.
What happened? You're losing energy online. What's going on?
Sorry, I got disconnected and then the whiteboard went off. I shared the whiteboard for them to write, but
I think staying home sends you to sleep. You need to come to the classroom. It's very good. Okay, and that's for all students, I mean. All right. Okay. Let's. Can you all see me there online? Yes or no? All right.
Yes.
Okay. Are you all still there? Great. All right. So let's finish up. You know, I don't want to take all your time, but I want you to go away thinking, okay, O'Connor helped me tonight, rather than just talk all the time. All right. The big theme that I was given on soon, that's fine. You can stop it. It's okay. Stop, no problem. The big theme that I was given with the ideas that we went tonight, and by the way, for those online, we videotaped as we went around. So happy to keep that as a record. So if you want to refer to that. But the big thing that I want you to take away is just think, okay, why is it important? If you were to present this to an industry conference, not to academics, then what matters? Okay, what matters? All right. So I was asked to speak. It's very interesting to talk about AI. Interesting, great. So I was asked to speak to industry professionals through the China Daily webinar middle of last year, and they said, "Oh, we want to talk on AI and manufacturing." I'm thinking, well, I know so little about that. So what I did in that presentation was not talk too much about AI, but talked about, oh, hang on, there's a big gap between where companies are and where they need to be for AI to be able to be used. And then I spent more of my time talking about, okay, here are the 4 steps. And step 4 is where AI, but most companies are at step 1 or step 2. Step 1 was the owner mindset, then documentation, then continuous improvement, then digitalization. And then there's a possibility we might be able to use AI. And so I was able to talk about AI, but actually my talk really wasn't about AI. It was actually talking about where companies are at the moment. All right. And so therefore my talk was relevant to industry rather than talking about what they might be able to get to in the future, when I know that most of them won't even get there. All right. So I was you can have a look at that talk I gave on China Daily. I can share that with you in WhatsApp. So very interesting. When I saw the Industry 4.0, I thought, oh, that's interesting. Very good. All right. So we've got Industry 4.0, AI, that's great. Sustainability, the forced labor in Vietnam. Oh, what I like about that is you're focusing on one country. All right. You've got to marshal a fence around your topic. Everyone online, and we did talk between 5 and 6 o'clock on this, that is, when you're thinking about your project, don't try and do everything. Okay? Yeah, you focus on one industry, you focus on one country, you focus on one case, just don't try and do everything. Okay? Why? Because your project is due in 6 weeks' time. Okay? All right? Yes, you can do everything in the world. If I give you 3 years to do it, you're doing your PhD, then go and learn everything about it. But you only have 6 weeks, all right? So how do you manage a project in 6 weeks? You clearly narrow your focus, okay? Now, someone asked me, do we do breadth or depth? I'm not talking about that. I'm just saying narrow your focus. Focusing on Vietnam, focusing on Shopee and Lazada. It's narrowing your focus because you're focusing on 2 companies. Good. All right. Here, regional supply chains. All right. So define. You need to define that. What does that mean? Okay. Because when I look at the media, yeah, they talk about regionalization, but a lot of consultants say, they just use that word, but I don't know if they know what it means. All right.
Basically, in a sense, I need to give a very in-depth definition of what regionalization
make that very clear. Yeah. So at the moment, and there's words getting out there about reshoring, nearshoring, onshoring, and part of that maybe in that, and part maybe overlap. So we just need to make that very clear at the beginning on that. If we're looking at the sourcing, we're talking about the sourcing shift to, are you with me here? If we're talking about sourcing shift to Vietnam, what we're looking at here, okay, what I like about this is they're not just focusing on one country, but they're focusing on one industry, okay? Electronics industry. And so the special thing about that is we know that now Apple is now manufacturing the iWatch in Vietnam for the first time. It's going to do that. So then that makes that very special. That's interesting. And they've doubled their sourcing of electronics from India from 3.5% to over 6.5% in the last 2 years. All right. So if I was doing this topic here, I would give examples like that in the first 200 or 300 words of your project. You make it very clear that this is why this is a compelling topic to look at. Okay, the one about warehousing and cold chain, yes, yeah. If you watch the presentation given by Mike Bellamy set for this week, he was talking about some examples about how truck drivers were turning off the refrigeration air conditioner in order to save costs. And then they were turning it back on before they got to the warehouse. And then the meat was all damaged. And, so, these things happen because why? Because we don't have visibility, we don't have traceability, and all of these sorts of things. So you could have a stark example to motivate a topic like something to do with cold chain. What's the worst thing that can occur if the cold chain is not working properly? That means the food you're going to eat for lunch or dinner tomorrow could be contaminated. How many of you would like to have that? That's how you bring home emotion and motivation to your project. Okay. So I'm not exaggerating. When you're talking to an industry audience, that's what you need to bring home. What is captivating? And this one about the forced labor in Vietnam, many of you who saw the talk by Matthew Friedman, right? How motivating he is. All right. Why was he motivating? Was he motivating by giving you facts about worldwide slavery, or did he motivate it by individual stories? It was those individual stories. Wow. Yeah. So just take an idea about how that works. All right. So robotics and AI, this is in the right area, but this is something that requires this. I think this is a very challenging area because you could write 10 books on this topic. So this group who has chosen Industry 4.0 and AI, need to just marshal a fence around what is exactly they're going to focus on, and I'm sure you'll be successful. All right. Everyone online, any comments or questions? Hello? What happened? They all gone to sleep. Hello? Any questions? Shamini, what's happening there? You waking them up?
How do you want me to wake them up? They're all awake, but they're not asking questions.
Yeah, sir, we are okay.
Okay.
Any question, guys?
All right.
Please
Now,
ask.
so let's just summarize tonight. Yeah, I'm going to try. I think some of us need this. All right. So this, you know what this is, don't you? All right. This is. Do you remember this one? Okay. All right. So let's summarize this evening so we can all go home and now that I've got you all, energized with thinking about your projects, and look, do take ideas from each other. This is not about stealing, but every one of the examples that were given tonight, and I listened to some of the online ones earlier, are all workable. But the big message I want you to take home is if you were to speak to an industry audience, not an academic, all right, how would you motivate your topic? Okay. All right. Make sure that it's really motivating. So if you're struggling with that, one area to start is to look for the latest McKinsey report or Boston Consulting Group report or Gartner report on the topic area of what you're proposing, all right? And just have a look at what they talk about and then work off that, okay? So that's my best example. I think the last thing you should do is go to an academic paper to get motivation, all right? I want you to, there's an academic telling you, don't look at an academic paper, it'll send you to sleep. Truly. Anyone want to do a PhD, by the way?
No.
No, that was, wow, so much participation on that one. All right. Just, Su Yun, just put down participation. Everyone said no. All right. Okay. All right. So I'll leave you with that. All right. I've given you some practical ideas to take away for all your groups. And even if, so we're going to call the class to a close. What I want, but I want to do it this way. All right. All right. Tomorrow afternoon, I've got a consultation with a group at 3 o'clock. If another group wants to talk to me at 4 o'clock, why are you rubbing that off? You should be taking a photo of it.
Yeah, we already write down.
Did you take a photo?
Yeah, we already sent it to our.
Oh, good. All right. Okay. No. They're just so quick to go home. They're rubbing it off. I want to get out of here. Really.
Everything's okay.
No, that's fine. All right. So 3 o'clock tomorrow, I've got appointment with one group, and I'm available at 4 o'clock if another group wants to join in. So please make use of my consultation time outside of class to go over and make use of it in the next 2 weeks in September. Please don't wait until October, okay? Now's the time to get moving. Why? Because it's a 50% assessment. That's why you should be starting now, okay? All right. So go to your Gartner report, go to your McKinsey report, go to BSG. There must be a consultant's report in your topic in the last 18 months or 2 years maximum. And then that will give you a lot of ideas how to make your report even stronger. The first page, it needs to be motivating, okay? All right. So any final questions or concerns? Okay, what I'm going to do is ask everyone if you can put the feedback into the normal course. You've got the normal feedback questions. You know, what was the big thing you learned tonight? The big question, which part of what I showed you worked for you? Not what I think worked for you. I need to know what you think worked for you. If it's nothing, then it's nothing, that's fine. But I need that feedback now, not in December. All right. Okay. So, because then I can do better next week and the week after. All right. So I really appreciate all of your efforts. And thanks to the two groups that were presenting tonight. Shamini, is there anything that I have missed? Is there anything? Shuyun, is there anything else? Okay, great. All right. So what I'm going to do now is talk to the two groups that presented last week, just give them quick feedback on their presentation. And I'll do that for the groups that presented tonight. I'll give you the feedback next week. Okay, as per usual. Okay, any questions? Please don't hesitate to post through the WhatsApp group, or we've got Zoom course tomorrow afternoon, and even next week we arrange some more Zoom calls for your group to ask questions and make sure that your project is on the right track. Okay. But for now, the main thing is to get the motivation and the trajectory right on your project. Okay. Thank you, everyone, and appreciate your feedback. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Doctor. Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you, Doctor. See you.
Bye, Doctor.
Sorry, Doctor. The consultation hours tomorrow is on Zoom or you contacted me, right? I think we do it on Zoom is okay. Zoom is good. Yep.
Why you want to
Let me type.
That was good.
It's quite good because it was a collaborative idea. Because we saw it from a global to regional perspective, I saw it from a localization to regional perspective.
Yeah, I like that. Teach me something.
No problem. It's hard teaching academics.
Thanks.
Yes, sir. Okay. You're doing the HTC. That's interesting. Huh?
But the problem is you need the authentication. Yes.
The whole theme of the case is all about how HTC uses multiple dimensions, TDQSC, technology delivery, cost, service, quality. They use all those dimensions to manage supplies. That's what the case is about. And so you need to talk about that. And I think at the end, there's an exercise. There's so many, the different suppliers have different ratings. And then you can actually get the class to go through that. I would actually go online and find a Gartner report or a McKinsey report that talks about this measurement of suppliers to compare with what HTC is doing. Is what HTC is doing, is that world-class approach to managing suppliers, or is that a Taiwanese thing? Okay. I don't know. These are questions that you can. But it's hard. You don't have video, but you need. I can. Before you go any further, you really need to understand how they do it. You need to read through that and really understand how they do it. Yeah, it's a hard one. Yeah, but you need to really, you might need to do some internet research on how scorecards are used to manage suppliers. So you have some kind of framework to compare what HTC does. Yeah. No, just against whatever they're doing. Yeah. Yeah. Compare it with what others are doing. Yeah. So I'm glad you're asking. Talk to you tomorrow, Shani. We can use this. How many are you with us? Shamini, we talk to you tomorrow at noontime, is that correct? All right. Oh, okay, we'll close. No problem.
Yes.